And so again, as you're finishing filling out those cards and the checkout slips, just raise them up in the air, and Ryan will come grab them, or Miss Renate, or me, if I'm standing right here. They'll come grab them from you during the presentation. We just want to make sure that we know who is taking each recharter for each unit, so we know who to follow up with. The green forms are for when your next court of honor for troops, and blue and golds for packs are going to be, so we can know, we can make sure to visit them. There's also a Google form on the Sweetwater website as well that you can fill this out if you don't have that date on you tonight. And then the blue form is for camp cards. We're starting to prepare our discount cards for this coming year. We want to know how much you guys are going to want to do so we can start to plan and order ahead. Now we're going to get ready to get started for everyone's favorite time of the year, Recharter, unit renewal. Raise your hand if this is your first time going through Recharter as a unit leader. You've never gone through it before. Raise them high, raise them proud. All right? Don't worry, you're not going to be chastised, you're good. We want to make sure we go over everything. It's really not a tough process, so I'm going to walk everybody through it for this year so that you don't leave here with any questions, and you can have it done, and you can have it in. So first, we'll go over the contents before we jump into the PowerPoint right here. Everyone should have this stack of paper inside of their Recharter. The thickest thing you should have in there is your unit's roster. You'll see it's the stapled together packet with the orange slip on the top. This orange piece of paper just reminds you that every leader has to have youth protection updated before they can be rechartered as a unit leader. So this is just a little friendly reminder from us. Keep in mind that the new youth protection training came out 2 springs ago, so 2 Februaries ago. So if you took it in that big initial rush of youth protection training when it came out, you're going to be due up in February. So make sure you remind all of your unit leaders. Now, as you take a look at your recharter packet, you'll see at the top it has your charter organization listed. It also has the executive officer. You'll also see that position listed as institutional head. Those terms are kind of used interchangeably, executive officer and institutional head. You'll see the different signature lines if you're going to do your recharter on paper. Then it'll have all of your adults listed. So this will be the currently registered as of Monday when Juanita printed them. It'll have all of your adults and their positions listed to the left. They'll have their addresses and everything as well. And then for the Cub Scouts, your next section is going to say Adult Partners, and that is for all of your Lion and Tiger Scouts. They have to have their adult partners listed. Keep in mind, those are not registered leaders that are in the adult partner section. That's just telling you who the Scouts adult partners are. And then the final section will have your youth listed. For the Scouts BSA troops, it'll be listed in alphabetical order by last name. For the Cub Scout packs, it'll be listed by lions, then tigers, then wolves and bears, and then Weeblos. And they'll be listed in those subsects alphabetically by last name. So that's the biggest hefty thing. That's your unit roster. Also in there is this white piece of paper that should have December 2nd and your unit listed at the top. This right here is the information to get you logged on for internet rechartering. So this access code you will need to get yourself registered. And we'll talk about this a little bit more in just a few minutes once we dive in. This yellowish piece of paper right here is the 2021 Recharter instructions. This is what we're going to be going over tonight. This beigey, kind of yellowy, again, is just more detailed for the Recharter instructions. Another white piece of paper with Trip Selman's signature at the bottom is the insurance. Reminder that all of our youth and adults pay $3 insurance for all of our registered scouts. The salmon piece of paper is the Journey to Excellence scorecard for packs and for troops, as well as the Journey to Excellence form for units, where you can order your Journey to Excellence awards. Denise, we didn't prepare for this, but do you want to tell everybody real quick what Journey to Excellence is and why it's important that your unit fills out this piece of paper?
Okay, sure.
I didn't prepare Denise ahead of time, but I know that she knows
I've done this before.
once or twice.
Okay. Who has never done Journey to Excellence? Okay, that's okay. Journey to Excellence, there will be a sheet in the Recharter packet, is an evaluation of your own unit, which you fill out. You can use it to plan next year's program and evaluate how your program did compared to what BSA thinks the average Packer troop should do. It's graded bronze, which is basically a C. B, good, is silver. Gold, excellent. So, to see how you stack up, nothing bad happens if you get bronze instead of silver. Nothing bad happens if you don't make the score at all. It's just a tool. But if you will turn it in, it's helpful to the council to know how the programs are going, and it's helpful to you. And you can turn it in with your Recharter. Hopefully someone will share it with me.
Yes.
and then I'll have a better idea of how you're doing overall. That's pretty much it.
Let's give Denise a round of applause. Thank you, Denise. Best in the business right there. All right, and the final couple pieces of paper. This green sheet is the checklist for payment for Recharter, and we'll walk through this when we get to that part in the PowerPoint, but this green part is where you can check and keep track of your payments. And this goldenrod piece of paper is the annual charter agreement. I want everyone, even the ones that have seen Recharters before, make sure you pull this out right now because it's different. It's a new form this year. Everybody go, ooh, ah. So it's the same general form. This is the agreement that you and your charter organization enter into, so that they know what to do, how to help you, and how you guys can support them. The key is, you'll remember in the past on the front is where the signatures used to be. The signatures are now on the back, and there's a new signature on there. So you have to get the charter organization signature. That again is that executive officer or institutional head. You have to get the charter organization representative, and if they're the same person, which they are in some cases, they just sign both those lines. You now get your committee chair to sign it as well. And again, they technically could be all three of those people, so they could be. So you'd sign all three of those in that case. And then the local BSA council, that would be like myself, Ryan, Alex, we would sign that one. So, not to scare anybody, but it's a different form this year. I know it's blowing minds right now, I can tell. So make sure that you take a look at this if you're doing the paper version of the Recharter. All right, so let's get into how to fill this out, how to get this turned in, how can you get this off your plate. And we're going to focus on the internet rechartering. All right, so this is the main page for internet rechartering. You can log in through your My.Scouting account. There's a link on our council website for internet rechartering as well. And it takes you right here to this page. Now you'll notice there's two boxes on there. There's a register and a login box. If you've done Recharter in the past, which is a lot of people in this room, you have to register as a first-time new user every year. So if it's your first time this cycle signing up, you've got to go to that register first-time user box. And then that's nothing there. All right, so that'll bring you to this registration page where it'll ask for that access code on this white piece of paper right here. You'll type in that access code fully. You'll then put your unit type, whether you're a pack, troop, crew, or post. And then it'll say unit number. Now this is where it gets tricky and people get caught up. You have to enter your full 4-digit unit number. You're like, but my unit's only 3 digits, or it's only 2 digits. Well, then you just put a 0 at the beginning. So Troop 81, I saw Troop 81 here. Where's Troop 81 at? You guys would enter in 0081. I saw pack 536, you guys enter 0536 into that unit number. All right, this is where you enter into the confidentiality agreement that everything you do that you work on the recharter will stay just for the rechartering purposes, and that stays confidential. This is where your unit processor will enter the information. This will be who is actually going to complete the internet rechartering. This can be any leader in the unit. It doesn't have to be anyone in particular. But you can only have one person logged in. So you can't have multiple people from your unit. You'd have to share the password and they can only log in one at a time. So make sure whoever you get to be the unit processor, whoever's actually going to do the recharter itself, make sure that they remember their password in case they need to log back in later on. All right, and so once you've gotten registered as that processor, it brings you to this first page, just the general rechartering overview. This tells you all 5 stages to completing your recharter process. This just gives you the general overview, and then as you fill it out, the totals will start to populate on there. And every time you log in and log out, you'll come back to this page, that general page. So you can save it, come back to it later, come back a week later, whatever you need to do to help get it done, and you just save it, and it comes back to that first page. All right, so the first step is loading your roster into the internet rechartering system. First step is loading your roster. What I always encourage people to do is to load council information. You want to load council information because that's going to tell you exactly what is in our computer system, who is exactly registered. So I always tell people, always load from the council information. That's going to make things a lot easier for you as you go through. All right, so the next step is where you'll update the information on the roster. If you look in the upper right-hand corner, you'll see a little wheel, little gear wheel right there. That is where you log out and where you save. Every time you save and you log out, you click there. Make sure not just to exit the screen. Make sure you clicked on that little gear and you physically logged out. That way it saves your information. All right, this is where you'll update your charter information. So maybe if you have a new executive officer who's taken over, if you have a new address for the church, if you have a brand new charter that's taking over in general, that's where you change this information. And at any point when you're doing this, you can review your roster. In the upper right-hand corner, it says review, and you can print the roster. You can do that at any point. So again, you want to follow the instructions, and this is where you're going to select and deselect members for renewal. So this page will pull up your entire roster. It'll start with your adults, and it'll go through your youth. It matches up. It'll match up with this packet of information right here, this roster. It'll mirror it right on there. And all you do is to the left there, it has a little checkbox. If they're coming back, leave them checked in. If they're coming off the roster, you deselect them. It's that easy. And again, you can update your unit roster as well if you think changes have been made. If you turned in a new application like this week, maybe midweek, you can click that refresh and it'll refresh it for you. All right, so after you've deselected the members who are not rechartering from the previous screen, only the members of your unit that you're keeping on will appear here. That way you can go ahead and check and make sure there's no incorrect information. And if you see something, oh, I forgot to take out Billy Scout, or oh, I took out Johnny Scout and didn't mean to, you can hit that previous button and go back to the recharter. So again, when you click the Review Print Roster button, this is what the screen will look like. Now, keep in mind, I get units every now and then that get a little confused. If it says draft version next to your roster at any point, you have not completed the recharter process. So if it says draft, that means it has not been completed yet. You haven't gone all the way through. But you can print this out. If you're like me, you like to work on paper some, you can print it out. If you have a committee meeting, if you want to review the roster before you submit it, you can do that right there. You can print out this roster at any point. All right, now the next section is promoting members. This is where you can promote members from packs into a troop. I always say to skip this section. If you have any new scouts that are joining, any Cub Scouts that are coming over, you can enter them on the new scout screen and type in their member ID number. With promoting members, you have to have the access code for the unit that you're pulling them from. You have to have those instructions. It's a lot more effort on your part than just entering them in on the new scout screen, and you type in their member ID so all of their records cross over. If you have any crossover scouts that are already joined up in your troop.
Bill, if you enter them in as new and you're not pulling them over, does the system, scout system behind the scenes pretty good at matching when those tubs transfer?
Yes, as long as you enter their ID number,
Okay,
it'll cross over their records.
all of that, perfect.
Yep.
Okay.
That's the key, though. If you enter them just as a brand new scout, then the system will treat them as a new scout. But if you put their ID number in there, you're good to go.
Okay.
And you can also turn in their physical copy of the application just as a checks and balance to that as well.
Okay.
All right, so section 4 is adding your new adults. This again is pretty straightforward. All you're doing is typing in the adults' information that needs to be added to your roster. Now keep in mind, you will not be asked to enter their social security information. So for every new adult that you enter, you do still have to turn in their physical adult application filled out and signed by the charter organization, as well again their copy of their youth protection training certificate. All right, so after you've added your adults, it'll ask you to add your new youth members. And again, all you're doing is typing in all of their information. All right, so once you've entered all of your new youth and all of your new adults, you'll then begin updating the members' information. So this is where you go in and you can change addresses, you can change phone numbers, you can change positions for your leaders. This is where you make those changes. You can make sure to update their youth protection date. You can do all of that fun stuff on this page right here. And all you do is you click to the left of their name, it'll have the update button, and you'll click where it says update. This is where you go right here. You can make sure after you've updated everybody, this will tell you to make sure that you have enough adult positions in your unit. Make sure you have enough adult positions. Now, who remembers from previous years, what positions do we have to have to recharter our units? Who knows them all? Who knows one of them?
Troop committee chair,
Let's raise hands.
troop committee chair,
You have to have a committee chair. You have to have a committee chair. All right, we have our committee chairs. That's for both packs and troops.
The unit leader.
You have to have your unit leader. So that's scoutmaster for troops, cub master for packs, advisors for crews and posts. And remember, those cannot be the same person. They have to be two separate people. All right, so we have our unit leader, we have our committee chair, we have our charter organization representative. That's the person that serves as a liaison between your unit and the chartering organization. Now, the charter org representative is a special person because they are allowed to have multiple positions. The charter organization representative can also serve on your committee, whether as the committee chair or a committee member. They cannot serve as a unit leader or a den leader, but they can serve on the committee as a charter organization representative. All right, so we have our unit leader, we have our committee chair, we have our charter organization rep. Who else do we need to have? For Cub Scout packs, we've got to have at least one den leader. So we have to have at least one den leader in our Cub Scout packs. Troops, obviously, you don't have to have a den leader. That's not part of your program. And there's one final position that we need.
committee members.
And we need committee members. Does anyone know how many committee members we have to have? 2 committee member minimum. So we'll run through them again. You've got your unit leader. You've got your committee chair. You've got your charter organization rep. You've got 2 committee members. And you've got your den leader for Cub Scout packs. Now keep in mind, for your charter organization rep, if they serve as the committee chair or a committee member, that takes away a minimum person that you have to have. So you can have your charter org rep and 2 committee members if they also serve as the committee chair. And it'll tell you along the right-hand side where it says adult positions, it'll tell you those minimums that you need to have. And if it's not on there, it'll pop up in red and say, hey, you're missing a committee member. Hey, you're missing your unit leader. And it'll stop you right there, and you won't be able to go on. All right? Once you've gone through everything, you filled in everything, you've made the changes, you'll click Check Roster. That's where the system will go through and make sure everything matches up, make sure you're not missing anything. Right there. Uh-oh, you've clicked Check Roster and you see that dreaded red text. You never want to see the red text. That means there's some kind of error. Something is wrong. Something that we need to go back, we need to adjust, and we need to fix. Now the cool thing is, it will literally walk you through exactly what the error is and what you need to do to rectify it. So it'll have that red text that there's an error, and then it'll tell you on there specifically what that error is. It'll say, Renate Patrick missing her youth protection date. How dare you, Renate? It'll say Ryan Turner doesn't have a position listed for him. It'll tell you exactly what you need to do, and it'll give you a little button to click, and it'll take you right to the page where you need to fix it. So again, for example, if it's an adult leader that there's an issue with, it'll take you back to the page where you can change the position, make sure there's nothing to, make sure you get the right position and you have the right minimums for your positions for your leaders. So again, you're still updating. This is showing you where you go to update it. All right, so you've gone through, you fixed all of your red text, all of your errors, and your roster has been validated. This will bring you to the summary page. All right, now this is where you can go in and you can add, adjust your fees. You can click their Boys Life if they're going to get Boys Life magazine. You can also click if any of these scouts are going to be multiple scouts. So a multiple scout or multiple adult, that is an adult that is in multiple units or a youth that's in multiple units. How many of you are registered here in multiple units? A couple people? Well, you only have to pay once as an adult leader, so make sure that you figure out what unit that you're paying with and make sure to let the other units know to list you as a multiple adult, or it's going to ask, the system's going to automatically ask you to pay again, which you don't have to do. And again, you just click and check which kids are getting Boys Life and which ones aren't. All right, there's a button on there where you can click 100% Boys Life. If your entire unit's getting Boys Life, you can click that box and just take care of it so you don't have to click every single box individually. All right, now you'll go to actually sign in the Recharter paperwork. To sign electronically, you'll click We Agree that you've spoken to your institutional head, your charter org rep, and they know that you're signing the Recharter and that they've agreed to do it. When you do it digitally, you do it online, they'll receive an automatic email once you've submitted it, so they'll know that you guys have finished up with it. If you click We Do Not Agree and you don't want to do it online, this is where you're going to have to get this goldenrod piece of paper filled out by your unit and your charter organization, as well as this paper right here. Get the signatures that you need right there, if you're not doing it digitally. All right, now this page, this is going to be a difference from last year. We have taken off the ability to pay by credit card online, as well as e-check online. The reason that is because that money goes directly to national, and we have multiple units that submitted all their Recharter paperwork, did everything, sent their money in, and then realized a couple days later, oh, I didn't mean to register Billy Scout and Johnny Scout. Well, it takes months from national to get that money back. It takes a long time, and it's a big headache for everybody. Plus, if you paid by credit card through here, they charge you an extra 3%. So, if you want to pay by credit card, all you have to do is give Juanita a call at the Jefferson office. She can do it with you over the phone. Ryan, Alex, myself, we can do it over the phone with you. You can come into the office and take care of it, or you can just pay by check like normal. Whichever way is easiest for you. But keep in mind, we did take away the ability to pay e-check and credit card just to help alleviate stress for you guys on the back end if you realize there was a mistake. We can issue refunds a lot quicker than National can. So when you're on this screen, you'll click that button that says Pay Direct to Council. All right, so you clicked Pay Direct to Council. That just means you get with Ryan, you get with Alex once you've completed it, and they'll meet with you to get all the paperwork done. All right, this is where you go to click Submit to Council. Once you click the Submit to Council button, this is when the recharter gets turned in. We can go back in and edit it, but you guys cannot once you click Submit to Council. It'll then pop up one more warning box. Are you sure you're ready to submit? You click OK. It'll ask you if you want to complete the online survey for rechartering. All right, it'll then bring you the option to print out the recharter. What we're asking everybody to do is to print out at least 2 copies of the recharter, one for you to keep as a physical copy and one to turn in to us. The reason we want a physical copy is once you hit submit, if you don't print out the physical copy, we don't have a way to go back later on and check on that recharter. So we don't have a way to figure out who was dropped, who was added. So if you can print out the physical copy of the recharter to turn in, that would help us out a lot and help you out if you need to come back that next fall. If you need to look back at that information, it'll help you out. So we're asking all of our units to print out 2 copies, one for your unit to keep, and then one for us to file away. And this is what it'll look like. It'll have who approved it, it'll have your payment, it'll have youth, it'll have adults, it'll have the charter organization. All right, and let's go ahead and review over the payment. So if you want to pull up the green sheet right here. All right, so you'll notice on the top, you already see a change from past years. It says number of youth with 1 green X. Whoa, that used to be red. Whoa, we're blowing minds. All right, so if you look on your roster, this will primarily be for Cub Scout packs, where we did roundups this past fall. The green X means they've already paid their $3 insurance for this year. So when a scout signed up in the fall, they went ahead and paid their recharter fee for the rest of this year, as well as the insurance for the next year. So they don't have to pay the $3 insurance this year. Same thing for the adults. If we had any adults who signed up brand new this fall, they've got that green X, they don't have to pay the insurance again. Then it'll say number of youth with black X. If you're filling out the physical copy, if you don't want to do it online, all you do to register, to make sure they stay registered, is just put a black X next to their name. And each one of our returning scouts pays $69, and each one of our adults pays $45. That already includes the insurance in their registration fee. It also has the Boys Life listed, so a number of people that want to get Boys Life. It'll have you list your multiple youth and adults. Again, those are youth and adults that are registered in multiple units. Then it has listed your unit liability insurance fee. That's $75. That's per unit. That's the registration fee per unit. And then you add up lines 3 through 7, and that'll be your total that you owe for recharter. And this should match up what is calculated on there. And in previous years, we've asked you to do 2 checks. This year you can do just 1. You can just pay it all together. And then at the very bottom, it tells you if you need help figuring out how many youth you've registered, adults, and the Boys Life subscriptions. So once you've completed everything, once you've submitted it to the council, once you're doing it on paper, once you've signed all of this, you'll reach out to Alex or Ryan. They'll get with you to collect it. The due date for recharters this year, this is always an important one, due date is February the 18th. We need all recharters completed by February the 18th. We're going to be doing a turn-in that night at the Lawrenceville office. But don't feel like you have to come to that. If you get it done early, we will come meet you. We will come pick it up. You can come into the office. We'll come meet you. Whatever's most convenient. We will set an appointment. We'll come pick it up from you guys. But we'll be at the office on the 18th to collect all the final recharters. So February the 18th. And the reason we need it then is all of our units expire at the end of the month. That gives Juanita the registrar about a week and a half to get everything filled out, everything reviewed, and entered into the system. All right. What questions do we have? Y'all have been sitting here quietly. Yes?
What paper do they need at turn-in?
So when you turn in the paperwork, you need this yellow piece of paper signed if you did not sign it digitally on the internet recharter. So you need this if you did not complete it digitally. You can bring this with you just as your calculation sheet if you want to bring it. This is not mandatory to bring with you though. You need to bring a copy of either this recharter filled out with the black X's on there, or the printed out version that you did online. You need to bring with you your Journey to Excellence scorecard. And if you want to get any swag for your unit, any ribbons, patches, flags, you can bring this with you and we'll collect it as well. Don't need to bring this. Don't need to bring this. Don't need to bring this. And the final thing you bring is your payment, whether it's check or credit card to swipe there at the office, or you can do it over the phone with Juanita, whichever one works easier for you. Excellent question, Denise. That's what you need to bring when you complete your recharge.
Question, so we'll probably do it online. You have the chart of organization signature.
Yep.
Is that the person from your charter organization? Like our priest signed it last year.
Correct, yeah.
Yeah.
The charter organization line is that institutional head on the top of your unit's roster right here.
Okay.
In most cases, for example, if you're at a church, it's probably either the pastor or maybe the youth pastor at the church. If you're with a PTA, it could be the PTA president. If you're with an organization like the lodge, it could be the head of the lodge. But it's typically the top person in the organization that signs off that I know that we've got scouting here at our organization. I believe in scouting. I know that these are our leaders. These are our kids. That is who that signature is. And again, that charter organization representative is whoever they designate to be the liaison between the unit and the organization. That can be the same person. It doesn't have to be. The chartered organization rep or the institutional head executive officer, they are not a mandatory, they're not a registered leader. That just says that they know that scouting is in their organization. Excellent question. All right. Yes.
So if you fill out all this online and do all the electronic signatures and stuff,
Yep.
we don't have any paperwork to turn in.
We'd like you to turn in a copy of the roster.
Yeah, a copy of the
A copy of the
roster.
roster
And then we-
and your payment.
Right.
So
Okay.
correct. There's nothing, if you do everything online, there's no physical signatures that we need.
Okay.
And your
That is-
JPE stuff, if you've done that.
Correct. Yes.
The journey to
During that,
Oh,
you
okay,
can do that online as well and just print out that copy so we can make sure that Denise gets a copy to review. Yes, Renata?
If we have an adult who has not been involved for a while but has a scouting ID number,
Mhm.
can we search by that? Or can they read?
So are you talking maybe an adult that's not on your roster?
Correct?
No, you cannot. But what you can do is you can get with Ryan, and Ryan can search that for you. So if you have a leader, she asked if you had a leader who's not currently registered, but maybe they're looking to get back involved. So they already have their ID number, they've already been registered at some point in time. You can get with Ryan, you can get with Alex. We have the ability to look people up through the people search, and we can look that up for you. What other questions do we have? Like I said, this isn't anything too difficult, too challenging. The biggest thing I always encourage with units is go ahead and start early. If you haven't started talking to your unit about it, don't wait until the last minute. That just adds more stress to you.